And so these words are used interchangeably, and that is a major mistake we can say while reporting about that particular property is done by the news reporters. It should not happen actually because there is a very much different meaning about what is patent, what is copyright, what is industrial design. So this is very important to understand that. And in this course, we are learning that yes, these are the 8 types of intellectual property, how we can manage these types so that we can generate wealth because IP is for wealth creation. When we are creating this IP, we are expecting that we are getting some benefit out of that IP. Maybe direct wealth creation or indirect effect may be there. So that intellectual property. Now, when we move further and we try to understand the further classification of this intangible property, it can be intellectual property and it can be intellectual capital. Now, what is the difference in that intellectual property and intellectual capital? Now, this intellectual property when we are talking about, this intellectual property, we will go into further details of that. Little bit idea about intellectual capital we will take here. So what is that intellectual capital? So here when we are talking in this context, because there is another context for intellectual capital also, we are not going into that detail. In this context, intellectual capital is the capacity by which the IP or intellectual property is created. And in short, if I want to divide it intellectual capital, broadly we can divide it as a human capital, structural capital, and relational capital. So these major capitals are there. We will not require to go into details of that now. So just remember, human capital, relational capital,